We're going to go through my top 5 replacements for Nathaniel Hackett as the Broncos head coach. But first, if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. That way you don't miss out on any coaching news and rumors as we're about to enter the hot board season with Black Monday right around the corner here at the NFL. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. I am your host, Matthew Peterson, and I've got my top 5 candidates to be the next Denver Broncos head coach. Now, before we jump into the list, I really quickly just want to take a quick second here and give a shout out to the interim head coach, Jerry Roseberg, who Mike Kliss, after the press conference, like many other reporters, was actually taken away from him, saying, if I've heard enough, if the Broncos go 2-0 in the final 2 games, Jerry Roseberg is the head coach in 2023. Apparently, he gave one heck of a Herb Brooks speech to the media today. But let's jump into some replacements for Hackett. First, I want to get this point across. I don't think people quite understand the magnitude of just how rich the Denver Broncos' new ownership is, okay? They are so rich, the Walton-Penner group, that you can combine 2, 3, and 4, and the Broncos are still richer. Boys and girls, they are the Saudis of the Rockies. They can just back the truck up and get whoever they want. I don't think that's really hitting home. Do you really think the richest owners in the NFL are going to go out and get the OC from the Lions? No, they have already sunk so much into Russell Wilson. They are going to get their guy, whoever it is, and they will write an offer they cannot refuse. I really do believe that this is not going to be a unknown hire like Nathaniel Hackett would for the most part. Whoever they want, they're getting. And I think the number one target is Sean Payton. Now, the interesting thing with Sean Payton, and we'll look at later, is you have to trade for Sean Payton. But make no mistake, Sean Payton would be an amazing hire for the Broncos. And in fact, he went on Colin Cowherd not too long ago and was talking about what he would be doing differently. He's practically already coaching the team. He said, I want to cut up of all Russell's pass plays of 30 or more yards from the field. And I'd want to see, are there some schemes that he felt very comfortable with? Like, I know that they did a great job in Seattle of bringing him off a naked bootleg and then pulling up, and we saw all the throwback to receiver Tyler Lockett across the field where the ball traveled 60 yards in the air. Then I want to look at another film of his red zone touchdown passes inside the 20. And so what I'm asking for from assistants, I'm asking for some of his greatest hits and to make sure that we have those song lyrics available. And if not, let's put them in. So Sean Payton is already starting to think a little bit of what would I be doing if I was the Broncos head coach. Now, it is important to note he is not just someone you can sign off the street. He retired. His contract belongs to the Saints. So you'd have to trade for him, kind of like Bruce Arians, which was more of a formality, right? When Arians got traded from the Cardinals to the Bucs, it was a late pick swap. That hasn't always been the case, though. When John Gruden, remember when he got traded from the Raiders to the Bucs? Well, he went for a lot. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and $8 million in cash. No one really knows what the Saints are going to do. Are they going to hold Sean Payton hostage and look for a haul like this? Well, Sean Payton did get them a Super Bowl ring. So maybe they decide, you know what, we'll go the Bruce Arians route. We don't need 2 firsts and 2 seconds and all that money. Sean Payton, you are good by us. Thank you for everything you did. Just go wherever you please. Show me the money, Walton-Penner. Whatever you need to get done to get him to Denver, you got to do it, right? Write a blank check. Tell Sean Payton, who has already started to put together his dream list of coaches, which awkwardly includes Vic Fangio, but we can work around that. Write him a blank check, too. We all said he would make a great DC. Just get it done. I mean, look at the top 5 highest paid coaches right now in the NFL. Sean McVay is number 1. Now, this information is not public, so it's kind of estimates, but he's somewhere in the range of 15 to 18 million. If you go to Sean Payton right now and say, we're going to double the number 1 highest paid coach and give you 30 million, how does he turn that down? Now, we've heard rumors of Sean Payton really only wanting one of the LA jobs. Well, if Sean McVay sticks around and Brandon Staley, who clinched a playoff berth, is probably not going to get fired. And I do think the Cowboys are going to beat the Bucs in the first round of the playoffs. So if Mike McCarthy doesn't get fired, well then Sean Payton might look around and go, my options are Denver for $30 million, the Cardinals, which is kind of a dumpster-ish fire like the Broncos right now, or the Panthers. where do you think he's going to go? I understand Denver is not a great situation right now. I'm not here to say that. What I am here to say is money talks. Speaking of money talking, how about this coach? What about Jim Harbaugh? He had a lot of success with the 49ers. He was only there for 4 years. In 4 years, he went to the NFC Championship game 3 times, including his first year. That's pretty remarkable. So I go right back to this year. The NFL owners. Who's the wealthiest? Denver. Now, it's not going to be easy to lure Jim Harbaugh away from Michigan when he's finally had a ton of success. But here's what I'll say. If Michigan were to win the national championship and the Broncos call and offer Harbaugh $25, $30 million, name your price, another blank check, tell me he wouldn't think long and hard about, I've won the Natty at the collegiate level. $30 million? I'm there. I can make Russell Wilson work. I did it with Colin Kaepernick, right? Colin Kaepernick was somewhat of a nobody until he took over after Alex Smith got hurt and made his first real start against the Bears on Monday Night Football. And when he was with Harbaugh in San Francisco for 3 seasons or so, 8,000 yards through the air, 1,500 on the ground, 60 touchdowns, 36 turnovers. I mean, ignore what Colin Kaepernick has become today, which is a big hot topic item. We all can admit, when Colin Kaepernick and Harbaugh were together with the Niners early in the 2010s, they were rocking and rolling, and he was looking like a fantastic quarterback. So we've gone through 2 coaches that I would like to see the Broncos hire. Let me know who you'd like to see them hire. Get in the comment section below, and let me know who you think is the best candidate for the job. Number 3 is Frank Reich. If for some reason Sean Payton decides, I don't want to touch the Denver job, even for $30 million, which I don't think he would ever turn down. But if the Broncos don't want to pursue that for whatever reason, I think Frank Reich is the best of the more realistic options. Just in case Payton and Harbaugh decide we're not coming on the market, well, Frank Reich would be a great hire, in my opinion. I just don't see Denver going the first-time head coach route. And with Frank Reich at in charge, he's had some pretty good QB seasons. And right now, Denver needs a coach who can salvage and save Russell Wilson. And when you look at Frank Reich, and he made Carson Wentz the 9th best quarterback in terms of just ESPN's QBR last season, that's pretty tempting right there. There's a guy who can save Russell Wilson, right? There's a coach who knows what he's doing with his quarterbacks, who had Phillip Rivers when his arm barely worked and they didn't even have him do Hail Marys. 19. I know those aren't eye-popping numbers, but all in all, Frank Reich has had a lot of success with quarterbacks. His only issue has been he's had a different quarterback every single season, right? Luck, Scott Tolzien 1 year, that's good trivia. Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. That was his downfall, was that Chris Ballard kept giving him new quarterbacks. I don't see the ownership group going the first-time coordinator route again after Hackett. One ownership already said they are leading the charge. Payton can help. He can get coffee, I'm sure. He can be very helpful in arranging meetings, but it's going to be the ownership leading this group. And do you really think the ownership of the wealthiest team in the NFL right now with them at charge is going to settle for some no-name coordinator? No, producer Coop shaking his head. Sorry, Ben Johnson. They're not going to go that route. They want to get their top guy. And with their their pocketbooks, they can do that. Now, if you want to make some money, now I'm not sure if you can be as rich as the Walton-Penner group, but you can come pretty close. You can be richer than Mark Davis, that's for sure, for the Raiders. You can go to BetUS, chatsports.com/bet, promo code Broncos125. Don't bet on Denver, although after the speech that Roseberg gave today to the media, at least on Wednesday when we're recording this, sounds like the Broncos might be covering machines these last 2 weeks. And I am a big believer in the interim head coach boost, so keep an eye on that. My 4th candidate is Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn was somewhat of a shoo-in last year. It was very bizarre. If you can just hop in a time machine for a moment, go back to last season. The Broncos interviewed 10 head coaches. Only one got a second interview. That was Hackett. Quinn had one, and then it got canceled or something like that. It was very bizarre, very weird. That was a mistake. They should have done more second interviews. They were going to interview Kevin O'Connell after the Super Bowl, but they didn't want to wait. They wanted Hackett. And everyone will forever wonder, do they want Hackett or do they want Rodgers? Now, when it comes to Dan Quinn, I do have some pros for him. One, he has head coaching experience, which I think is going to be a must for this next head coach for Denver. He went 43-42 with the Falcons in 6 years. That's also kind of his con, like Michael Scott, right? My biggest pro is I work too hard. My biggest con is sometimes I work too hard. 43-42 isn't very sexy. He had some overlap with Russ. 2 seasons they overlapped when he was the DC in Seattle, which eventually got him the gig in Atlanta. So he has some idea of what brings the best out of Russell Wilson. He was there when Russ was playing some of his best football. He's also a much more stable hire. I think the reason why Hackett was fired on Monday instead of after Week 18 was for the whole country, it was on display. This sideline, this locker room is breaking apart. You have the backup quarterback and your left guard fighting on the sideline. You've got Randy Gregory throwing a punch after the game. It was clear that Hackett had lost control of this team. Dan Quinn is going to be a much more stable hire that can keep the group, attached and whatnot. My 5th and final candidate here is a bit of an off-the-wall one. But it's the DC, Ejiro Evero. I think the reason why I'm putting him on this list is more so of a PSA of the Broncos like this guy a lot. It's not necessarily because I think he's the 5th best option, but George Payton said the team wants to interview Evero for the head coaching position. In fact, Evero could have been the interim head coach if he really wanted to. Roseberg said that Evero turned down the interim head coach job out of loyalty to Nathaniel Hackett, his close friend. Roseberg said it was an admirable, and Evero deserves credit for his decision. So clearly, Denver, there is a human element to hiring a head coach. It's not just numbers like this, right? Stats of, wow, your defense is 16th in rushing yards. The job's yours. No, there is, hey, can you be someone that we want to have as the face of our franchise, right? There's the whole human element to the head coaching position of, can you command a locker room of 53 highly paid individuals with big personalities sometimes. It's also worth noting, though, this defense, it kind of gave up a little bit against the Rams, and it's kind of, raised the white flag the last 2 or 3 weeks or so, but it's also been a revolving door. You lose Bradley Chubb to a midseason trade. You lose Randy Gregory for 9 weeks. You lost Justin Simmons for 4 weeks. You lost Ronald Darby to a torn ACL. You've had a plethora of injuries between Jonas Griffith and Josie Jewell on and off throughout the season. DJ Jones had a concussion at one point. Baron Browning got hurt. Do you need more? Right? Despite all of that, this defense has been consistently great, in my opinion. I would love for Evero to stay as the DC. There's no doubt about that. But I think it might be a bit premature to offer him the head coaching position. I think you might be getting dangerously close to flying right by the sun again of, you want to go the route of a first-time head coach when it hasn't worked? How many straight times now? Hackett, Fangio, Vance Joseph. You want to make it 4 in a row? My guess is they probably don't. So once again, here are my top 5 candidates. Let me know which one you like the most here. I think it's Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton could come in here and do the best job and save what is the Denver Broncos, who are currently looking at football misery if they are attached to Russell Wilson and he truly is toast and there is no saving him. I appreciate everyone for clicking on to today's video. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so. We're going to sign off, but I'll see you guys later with more Broncos news and rumors.